Hey everybody, welcome to Two Idiots on a Couch. My name's Beta.
My name is Jesse.
Jesse's out of focus in the camera for some reason.
That's fine.
Move a little closer to me, maybe it'll...
Everyone's listening via
simulcast.
I
don't know. Move a little closer to me though. I think that might be better. Oh yeah, look, there we go, look. There we go. So I figured that the audience doesn't know too much about us, so I've accumulated a few questions about our personal lives that we're gonna answer. So
okay.
Ready? Obvious one, boxers or briefs?
Can I do like the in between?
Like boxer briefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my answer.
Okay.
Yeah, boxer briefs.
They can't just give me one or the other. There's got to be something to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many times do you wear underwear in a week? Is it every day?
How many times? Yeah, I change them every day.
Oh, I go underwearless a lot of days.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
How many times you
Just
shower
air
in
it
a
out
week?
down there. Actually, every day,
comfortable.
believe it or not.
Every day? Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Yeah. The only time I probably won't is if I don't go anywhere that day, and then the next day I'm not going anywhere. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm not going anywhere.
If I
and I'll shower
have
when I go
like
somewhere,
a
but-
day off from work,
Mm-hmm.
I'll more than likely skip that day and shower the morning of that work.
Gotcha.
So
Makes sense. Do you use shampoo, conditioner, and body wash, or do you use a combination?
like it all in one.
Yeah, do you use like an all-in-one?
No.
Do you use a shampoo and conditioner?
I have my Head and Shoulders because
Mhm.
I get an itchy
gotta
scalp.
cure that dandruff, you know.
Yeah, and I actually have that very nice Old Spice body wash. It's like
Got
a
it.
coconut and
conditioner,
shea
though.
butter.
Like no specific conditioner.
Well, because there's conditioner in the
oh, is
Head
it?
and
Is that a
Shoulders, yeah.
shampoo conditioner? Got it.
Yeah.
So you use a combo for shampoo and conditioner, and then
body
a
wash.
separate
Yeah.
body wash. I use L'Oreal conditioner sometimes, and then I use Suave like Ocean Breeze shampoo because that's what my dad buys. So that's just what I use. And then for body wash, I just have Axe body wash or soap, whatever's like there.
I gotta say that Old Spice body wash with the shea butter,
Mm-hmm.
nice. It's like a moisturizer.
Yeah. How many people have you murdered?
I can't tell you that, otherwise I have to kill you.
It's a fair question. All right, go with the intro song.
Da 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 da.
I'm gonna go with the real intro song. We're two best friends on a couch, and we're idiots. Hey guys, welcome to episode 3.
Of Two Idiots on a Couch, even though we just said the intro before.
We did say the intro before. I had to check if it was actually recording because I got really scared.
Oh my god.
Dude,
Leave
it's
it
just
to
like,
Beta.
I know, seriously. I just like, there were so many tech problems with OBS this week and just so many different levels. Like, it's been
Like for
not good.
just your personal stream?
Yeah, well, so
Or
I'm
for the Nerds Live stream?
I'm streaming Mass Effect on the Nerds Alive channel, doing a full playthrough of... I'm trying some new options, like doing some Renegade options, but I'm trying to answer in a way that I think, like, the character Commander Shepard
So-
would.
That's kind of what I
Play.
meant when you were streaming, and I had just tuned in, and I said I jokingly said a full Renegade playthrough,
Yeah.
but I meant by very honest playthrough
Oh, yeah,
was
right.
choosing
Like-
what you thought.
Yeah, like, honest to the character.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing Renegade options that I've always wanted to choose, but don't because I'm usually doing a full, like, Paragon playthrough.
Okay.
But anyway, during that, my power went out. When my power came back, which took a while, I opened OBS and it was like crashing my computer. It was like making my first core on my CPU go to 100%. Just
Oh,
the first core, none of the
interesting.
other ones. Really weird. So I closed it down. I was using Streamlabs OBS, so I closed it down, opened regular OBS Studio, was doing the same thing. So I was
Interesting.
like, God fucking damn it. So then I had to like reinstall Streamlabs because I was using it to do the recording because you
Yeah.
can do selective recording, which is
Yep.
really cool.
That
Because
is
I'm
pretty
planning
cool.
on doing a review for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
So with
I
that
actually need to
selective
stream more.
recording, does it also like? Because I know it's like you could filter out certain like video elements.
Yeah.
Does it also filter out your recording tracks as well?
Mm-hmm.
that's
So
pretty
you
neat.
so you have to choose the recording track. So I can choose everything to be in a separate track. That way, like my microphone, for instance, records on a separate track from the gameplay.
I see.
And I can make Discord record on a separate track because I actually have Discord in there as a separate, like a separate source for audio. So I can have all those be different audio tracks, and that way I can, like, delete ones that I don't want. But I turn off my microphone for the recording anyway, so it won't even record my mic.
I see.
It'll just record gameplay.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why I yawned.
It's just that time of day, It's the rainy weather.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I did that, and then so I had to reinstall OBS, tried to do selective recording, ended up getting the stream working again, but it was only working in 720p because I had changed my whole configuration, and it wouldn't let me record or change the record settings because I already went live. So it was my fault for not checking again. So nice. I couldn't do selective recording. So I was like, fuck, okay, so like half that stream went away. I finally fixed it, and it's been working fine. But yeah, and then Leah was having issues with OBS yesterday and today.
It's kind of funny you mention it. I was also having issues with OBS.
Why? What'd you do?
I wasn't using it, actually.
That's pretty funny.
I just wanted to feel included.
Yeah, anyway, so I was just checking here because I had to change all the settings. Oh, and the other problem was when I went to record last week's podcast, it only recorded in...
Yeah, but we figured
720p. We figured out why, but it's just like I set, like if you go... So if for anyone who doesn't use OBS, OBS is a program where you can record video capture devices and game capture and audio capture and things like that. So people who stream use OBS because it's what kind of filters through your, or like connects your game, your video, your microphone, all that stuff. And then that actually like filters it into a stream and puts it on Twitch and stuff like that. You can also record those things too. So there's two separate tabs because you can record, when you're recording something, you can actually record in a lot higher quality than you can stream in because you need to be able to upload the data that you're streaming. But when you're recording, it doesn't really matter how large it is because you just need to have a hard drive big enough and a computer that can just write that fast, which most modern day computers can write pretty fast. And all of the settings there, so like on the stream tab, it said output was 1920 by 1080. In the recording tab, it said it was 1920 by 1080. Mm-hmm. And then in the output tab, it said it was 1920 by 1080. If you go specifically into video,
I think it might be, yeah.
Yeah, we went specifically into video, and it said that my canvas size, so like what I'm actually like setting all the stuff on the screen with, it said that was 1920 by 1080, but it was rescaling the output into 720.
Yep.
So everything else was set to 1080 except the output for some reason, and I don't know why.
It's just a little blurriness that when you upscale it, that's all.
No harm. Well, so here's the thing. So the reason I want it to record in full resolution is because I actually don't mind putting it out in 720. I'm going to hope to probably put it out in 1080. But I actually want to be able to make this a little more entertaining for the people who watch the video by actually having it cut between the people talking and have a better angle on our cameras, or on our faces while we're recording. Eventually, we're going to have multiple cameras, but for now, we don't. And if it's 720, and then I zoom in on people's faces, it looks super blurry on everyone's face.
We could just look like we're shit posting.
Yikes!
Right.
So I want to be able to
Quality meme.
I want to be able to actually, get people's faces and stuff like that. So this leads me into my begging for people to help out. I'm just kidding. If you guys do want to help out, though, I'm actually going to leave our Ko-fi link in the description of the video, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or something like that, there should be a link to our Ask FM. Oh my God, our Anchor FM.
Jesus Christ,
our Anchor FM. Through there's a support link where you can support as well. All of the money that we get is going to specifically go to equipment to try and make the podcast better. So we actually have a lot of equipment, and we're really close to being able to record with multiple cameras. My next thing is actually to get a camera that is 4K, because we actually have the means to record in 4K. We just don't have a camera that actually outputs 4K. So, if you guys want to help out, it'd be great. I'm really good at segues, though, so we're going to talk about...
Are you now?
We're going to get into the meat and bananas of this podcast, which is...
DLC.
I just thought you were going to laugh at me and bananas because that was a weird
I did in my...
in your head?
To myself,
cool,
yeah.
Thanks. That doesn't boost my ego if you laugh in your head. So if you could do it out loud, it'd be great.
Sorry.
Don't patronize me. So we're gonna talk about DLC this week, and there's a few reasons why. I've currently been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. Jesse just finished his Mass Effect playthrough as well,
Yes.
and played one of my favorite DLCs in all of gaming. And I was talking with Jesse and our friend Leah about games and DLCs, like Sims DLC and Dead by Daylight's DLC and stuff like that. So there's a lot to get into, but I'll start with a specific topic. Some DLCs are really good.
I would say so. Are we, well, because I know we had like a very, like, we said a very specific topic, but like, I guess to get like kind of define that a little bit more, it was DLCs being almost on par with like the base game story.
Yeah, so specifically the reason I added this topic and was inspired by it was I was watching a few people play Mass Effect, as I've said on every single podcast we've fucking done so far, that I'm watching other people play Mass Effect. Jesse went through and he played my favorite DLC. I watched another streamer play that DLC, and he was just talking about the other DLCs and how the writing in those is actually better than the base game. Me and Jesse in the past, I think on the first episode, talked about how some of those DLCs should have just been part of the main game.
Yep.
Like, they were just, the story fits so well with them. So I really got into thinking about other games and their DLC, and are DLC games, like, is the writing better? And I really started to think about, in story games, are DLCs better than the base game? And I really tried to think about that question for a lot of the story games.
You know, I mean, it's weird because like I'm trying to like think really hard now, and I guess I just played like such a large catalog of games over the years. I'm kind of blanking on like what games had what DLCs and.
Well, it's definitely hard. So we did write a few down. So first, like Mass Effect, for instance.
Yeah.
I think Mass Effect 3's DLCs, all of them should have just been part of the base game. Honestly, like they all just fit so well. The writing in all of those is definitely way better.
Yeah.
It is 100% way better. Even so, I guess Javik the Prothean.
Yeah.
He was DLC. He was pre-order DLC, so he was like first day DLC. I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
Which I didn't know. Someone pointed that out, and I was like,
yeah.
so he was first day DLC, which is why he fits so well in the game.
Yeah.
But he's such an integral character. Like
So why would you exclude that from your core audience?
Right. He's like such a good character, and there's so many moments where he fits in the story. But what's weird, there's also some moments where he doesn't fit in the story too. So it was kind of like, not doesn't fit, but it's like odd that he's there. Like they talk about Protheans, and then you're like, but there's one right there.
Yeah.
Like right next to me. And
Yeah.
they're just like, if only Protheans existed, they're like, well, they're right next to me. There's one right next to me. Like right now. Like,
Yeah.
You can see him.
You know,
right there.
it kind of makes me like you saying this, right? Because like I agree with that, but it's like sometimes there's definitely like a secondary companion to like every like I don't know, every like quest line or something.
Yeah, like
So-
a companion that fits really well in that.
Right.
that
And they'll maybe
section,
like
yeah.
they'll say like a one-liner or
Yeah, right. Like, so, I specifically, there's a part in Mass Effect, so this is like a little bit spoiler, but there's a part in Mass Effect where you come upon a Prothean beacon, like, not really spoilers, like, these are very, very light spoilers, and, because you have the cipher in your head from the first game, if you bring Liara with you, or someone just says, oh, the beacon, like, it thinks you're Prothean because you have the cipher in your head.
right.
If you take Javik with you, he goes, or it just knows that I'm a Prothean and I'm standing right next to him. Like, that's, like,
Are you
that's
talking about
a
the
funny
one on
line.
Thessia or
Yeah.
okay?
Like, that's a
It's
really
funny
funny
like,
line.
I thought about that and I was like, oh, this would be really cool if I had Javik with me.
Every time, yeah, because I did the same thing. When I was talking to the VI, there's a Prothean VI, that I'm talking to him, and I was just like, oh yeah, it'd be really cool if he
like-
was here. But his dialect doesn't change that.
No.
Like, it does a little bit.
No,
I will say, it does change quite a bit. Like,
I was
there's different
really
parts
curious, and like I went on YouTube and watched the video because I'm like, I'm not going back and playing this on Insanity just to reload and have a
of it.
different
Changes
squad mate.
difficulty. Oh, you meant after. Sorry. You were, like, in the middle of still playing, you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
so it's like I didn't want to go back and then like
Yep.
because
Yeah,
he's not.
it's-
I'll be honest, he's not the best squad member in terms of powers.
He is, he's okay. He's like, because his powers are very just unique. Like, only he can have them. Because he doesn't have biotic powers. He just has, like, natural,
Right.
like, powers, you know? and they're pretty cool. They're like dark energy and stuff like that. Like
Yep.
they're pretty dope. But yeah, they're not the best because he's basically a Vanguard, but like Prothean. So he's like a mix between. He's like biotic combat stuff like that. But yeah, so I was looking at that. So like he should have been base game. So that's DLC, and I think he's written very well. He has a very compelling storyline. Like he just seems like another character.
Yeah.
Which in Mass Effect 2, the DLC characters, they weren't really that interesting.
No.
Because when you finished their quest, you couldn't talk to them.
No, right.
They
It was
didn't
just
have
like
any extra deals or dialogue.
Nope.
They just sat in their room on the ship, and you could go say hi, and they're like,
most-
"Oh, hey, how's it going?"
In most cases, I think like Saeed, like you could like go around his room and inspect his stuff, but that was like
Yeah, and you could do that.
you
at
did
the
that
beginning,
before
too.
or after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's it, right? That's all they wrote.
Yeah.
Into it. Which to me was like weird because Javik had so much dialogue, and these other DLCs too, like the Leviathan DLC. I heard something like fucking.
I think
Did
it was
you hear
plastic.
Oh, was it okay?
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus Christ.
um.
Oh my god. I saw it at the corner of my eye.
Did you?
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
I'm also looking in your direction too, so.
I don't know. Like I heard like a buzzing in my ear, so like I just like thought there was like a bug or something.
Ooh, spooky.
No, not a ghost, just a bug. We're in a basement, so we get lots. Actually, I don't know if you've noticed, we're actually in a high-rise apartment right
Yeah,
now.
we
We
recently
have a new
upgraded.
set. You're like, we casually didn't even mention that we were we didn't set things up. We're better lit. We have a new backdrop. Like, we didn't even, like, mention that.
Nope.
Now we did, though. The illusion's ruined. Those aren't
See?
real windows. It's cloth.
You see that shadow? I'm casting a shadow on
On the
sky.
window. But yeah, so I thought about that game, and I immediately thought all the DLCs in that game were really good. And I was like, you know what? That might just be because it's a story game, and when you build DLCs into the story game, The Witcher, for instance, like it's got to tie back to the main game in a way, but a lot of story games like The Witcher don't necessarily tie it into the main plot.
Right.
It is usually things that are separate. So DLCs usually take place after, or they take place just separately, like off to the side.
Right.
And Mass Effect was very unique because while the DLCs themselves didn't necessarily affect the main plot, oh, there you're gonna sneeze. Didn't necessarily affect the main plot. They did add stuff to the main plot, which most other games don't do.
Right.
You obviously get gear and loot and stuff like that, but this actually added like resources and like other like characters that message you on your terminal and stuff like
Yep,
that. Like
yep.
it added a lot of stuff to the plot, you know, and these people talk to you about the plot, and like to me that's really interesting because I think that DLC is very unique in that way. But it was all written better. Like the character moments, so much better.
Where'd you leave off?
I don't know. Anyway, we're back. Jesse got a phone call. Yeah, anyway, I the writing in those DLCs is so much better than the base game. Like the writing, like the character moments in the Citadel DLC to me are like the best character moments in like any video game that I've played. The like plot behind the Leviathan DLC is like some of the like great like narrative like
Yep.
conversative things that reveal a bunch about the world
Yeah,
itself.
no, I was gonna say, yeah. And like so how they had mentioned that there was a race before the Protheans,
Right.
which it was just presumed an assumption by
Right.
Liara. And
Yeah.
at that point it's like, oh, so you kinda learn what that is.
In the first game, you actually learn that that the cycles happen multiple times. So you learn that there's been multiple cycles of this 50,000 year
Yeah.
thing. So you learn that there is more beyond the Protheans, concrete from the Reaper itself, from Sovereign. He tells you.
Yes.
But yeah, to find the first one that is, you know, millions of years old, you
Yep,
know,
yep.
is just crazy. You know.
You know, I gotta say, which because you were talking about Javik before.
Yeah.
and like how like the Inkindlers worship the Protheans, and then
Yeah.
like he just comes up with the insult like, "Oh, the jellyfish can finally talk."
Yep. Yeah.
It's just like
it's just so
small
funny.
things like that. It's very
Right, what'd be funny is I thought about that and I thought how he's very much like kind of grossed out, like these races and like
Yeah.
how did these like primitive people come to this, and I really had to think about like because we don't really have anything like that, like we have humans and then we just have like animal species,
right.
But if I had to think about it, right, like if evolution really is a thing, and let's say evolution just moved faster, if you got frozen right now, and in like 50,000 years you came back and squirrels could talk and had like society,
Yep.
you'd be like, the squirrels can fucking talk
Yep.
now, like like you would also
They
just
used
kind of
to eat
be
nuts.
surprised. Put nuts in your mouth, squirrel, huh?
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that one. But
But yeah, like I could see that. Obviously, that's like a huge, gigantic jump. Like obviously to us, that'd be like, oh shit, apes now like run things and like have their own society and whatnot. Like that would probably be the thing that like.
I mean, technically, they
Technically,
do.
yeah, I guess technically, yeah, sure. Just that's fair. Yeah, well, you know
Right.
what I mean, though.
True.
Like, but like you would also be surprised. So I guess I get his like thing. Also, to wake up and find that you failed and your entire species is dead after being like a soldier, like defending it. Like, I think I definitely get his like anger and like animosity towards the other races. Especially like just after being woken up. But to even bring that point into other games, like the DLCs are so much better written. And here's what I will say about the DLCs. I actually don't think DLCs in every game are better in every way. Like,
No,
I
was gonna
don't think the
say-
gameplay in...
I think it has to be very. I don't know. I was gonna say. I really can't think. I'm blanking on all these games.
Oh, well, so
Aside from the 3 you wrote down there, but
um,
wow, no, I'm blanking on these games big time.
well, I think what makes DLCs better is they usually improve upon one thing, sometimes two things.
Well,
So,
are we
like-
talking about just? I mean, because we were on the strict topic of single player. Are we keeping it to single player? Or just
Well,
like,
currently my point right now is single players. Yeah,
Okay.
so like right now the point as are like answering the question, I thought about single player stuff first.
okay,
And so in my opinion, like a lot of DLCs are better than the base game. But better to me just means better in a category. Like the Citadel DLC, the character moments are what makes that better. Way
Yes.
better character moments. Gameplay itself, kind of meh. Like there isn't like a lot to do.
no,
The story itself, well, because the gameplay is almost the same. There's really no
yeah,
new gameplay
no,
element.
that's it. Maybe you get
Um,
like 2 new weapons. That's it.
The story itself, kind of meh. Like, the story's cool, but, like, it's like, It's like hit or miss. The writing for the story itself goes along with the character moments and the stuff. So the writing itself is, like, better, but the
Yep.
story itself is just meh. Leviathan DLC, gameplay, meh, because it's pretty much just the same. There's no, like, standout fights or anything in that DLC either. The character moments are kind of meh, because there's nothing that happens between you and your squad. It's the story there that's
Yeah.
better. They just tell a really good, compelling story with that
Yep.
DLC. And if you take it into other games too, for instance, like Fallout 3, Fallout 3 to me has some of the best DLCs in games in the last like 10 years.
Yeah,
Every one of those DLCs
I
was
wanna
like a
say
hit.
It was something that like definitely added on
Almost.
more onto the game than I would say what the newer ones have done.
Yeah, the
But-
Fallout 4's DLCs are not great. New Vegas' DLCs were also, I think, some of the best too.
Yes.
But I think, again, all of those, built
We
upon
just burp
bettering
simultaneously.
one. We did all those things built
Sorry.
upon like one better thing. So, like Fallout, for instance, the point look at DLC, better weapons, like more fun weapons and
Yep.
stuff like that, and a better world. Like not a better world, but like a much more fun world to explore. The Pit DLC, that was a very interesting story, and it had some cool like mechanics and stuff in it too. Mothership Zeta, that's everyone's that and the Anchorage people say are like the weakest, but in my opinion, Operation Anchorage was actually one of the better ones. People didn't like it because you couldn't bring your stuff, but like that was cool. You're in a simulation, like it was
Yeah.
a cool like narrative, you know.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually remember when I think it was in Fallout New Vegas when you fixed up the boomer base and they had the simulation pod.
Yeah.
I was kind of always under the impression that you'd be like, maybe as like a future DLC or something, that you'd be flying a bomber.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
Or something like that. And I was like, oh, I wonder how they'd work that into the game.
Probably why they didn't do it.
You're probably right.
But yeah, even New Vegas' DLCs. New Vegas' DLCs were mostly story stuff, but like DLCs to me build upon like a specific thing. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, you know what? They're not better in every way, because I really can't think of a DLC that's just better than the base game. You know, and obviously you can't have that because the game is long and like thought out. But I meant in terms of just like better map design for like fights, better story, like. But then I thought about it, and in my opinion, the last DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition is probably better than the base game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fights are just way, to me, like, even though you have all your stuff and you're super powerful and stuff like that, the fights are more fun. There's, like, more stuff to do, and there's more, like, big, epic, like, more well-thought-out fights.
Funny, because I was just reading about, because, I've only played the game maybe for, like, a total of 40
Yeah, I think you
minutes-ish.
got to maybe, like, the 20%-ish mark.
Oh, okay. Maybe more than 40 minutes, but...
Well, the thing is, you played at my house on my account, and then you got the game yourself. So we got pretty far on the one you played.
But it's just, like, it's funny how, I'm going to say you hold the game in high praise, but you do compliment it a lot. And, 100%. Like, I was on a Reddit thread, and, this is Reddit, so they're shit on anything, really.
Of course.
But it was just, like, saying how Dragon Age Inquisition, the DLC, was lackluster, and it was a very MMO-esque, like, scenario with fetch and grab quests. And...
Every other DLC was that. Except the last DLC.
How many DLCs were there?
3. There's the Frost something DLC, which I only played both those DLC once. I played the other DLC. The other DLC takes place after the game. It's one of the DLCs, kind of like Mass Effect DLCs, where it should have just been part of the main game. They probably wanted it to be part of the main game, kind of like some of the Mass Effect DLCs, and they just ran out of time. So they're like, fuck it, we'll cut it and just make it a DLC.
Yeah.
Which just seems as like what they did. Which is probably why I think it's better than it, because then they had more time to refine it, which is something that the base game didn't have. But the other 2 DLCs, yeah, they're not great. Like, I mean, to be fair, Dragon Age Inquisition, the gameplay in that game, it's pretty much just fetch quests for the most part. Like, the gameplay isn't interesting. The story is interesting.
Okay.
The combat in the game isn't that great either. It's probably the best Dragon Age combat since the beginning, depending on if you liked, like, the turn-based-esque, like, top-down, strategy from the first game. If you weren't a big fan of that combat, this is the best combat in Dragon Age, because it still has a good mix of, like, having to control your other characters, telling them what to use, and, like, speccing them out and stuff like that, but not having to, like, pause combat every 2 seconds to, like, pick that stuff. But, yeah, so the other 2 DLCs were just kind of not great. The gameplay in the first game, not that great. That last DLC, fantastic, because there weren't any fetch quests.
Right.
There weren't, like, so random-ass things to go get.
Like, it was, like, unique mission upon unique mission kind of thing?
It was just, like, a unique story.
Yeah.
With really great character moments. Obviously, I'm a big fan of certain fan-servicey things for games that I really like. Very fan-servicey, just like the Citadel DLC. Because you're dealing with the characters, like, a year after everything happened. So you get to see what their future has. So you kind of get to, like, after being sad the game was over, you got to re-see all these characters and be happy that, like, you get to see them again. And, like, what have you been doing? Like, what have you been up to? Like, what have your choices through the game, like, led you to do? Because some characters won't be there. Some characters will have different positions. Some
I was
characters
very surprised at, like, who made appearances in that DLC. And
which one?
In Citadel.
Like well, that one's interesting, too, because in the Citadel DLC, it's the same thing. In Mass Effect, again, Dragon Age. No, I was talking about the Dragon Age one.
Sorry, I don't know. I heard Citadel, but
they're almost the same. Oh, I did. I said it's the same as the Citadel. Obviously, Citadel takes place on the side, whereas this is like a whole new narrative that basically leads into Dragon Age 4 in this DLC. Like, this DLC starts Dragon Age 4, basically. Yeah. Like, whenever it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny that you say that. That's going to be my catchphrase. Funny that you say that. Put that in quotes.
Yikes.
EA said they are not going to be showing any new Mass Effect or Dragon Age footage at their EA Play this year.
Wow, I don't even know when that is. When is that? Didn't they
July.
Do an EA press conference? Did they not do an EA
They did one for
conference?
E3.
Oh.
But they have, like, their whole separate event called EA Play. I think it's, like, July 19th 2018.
I mean, that makes sense. Dragon Age, they said, isn't going to come out until like 2 years from now anyway.
Yeah, well,
and that's also been reworked 30 times.
30
so
times, yeah.
We'll see. And then
no,
Mass
live
Effect
service,
was just
no.
announced. They just announced the
Yeah.
teaser when they announced the special
Which,
edition.
at that point, when they announced the teaser, the game wasn't even in development.
Nope, yeah, they just announced, yeah.
Kind of like a...
What?
Kind of like a Bethesda approach on Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, we didn't even start
They
working
just got
on...
random grass, and they were like, grass, Elder Scrolls 6. And it's like, oh, shit, there's
we
going
didn't
to be
start
grass.
working on the game. In
like...
fact, it's not even in the design phase.
I wouldn't be surprised if the next game comes out and it's just like a dirt place. And they're like, there's
Yeah.
no grass here, sorry. We just
Dirt
just needed like a
place.
random ass fucking sweeping shot for this Elder Scrolls 6 reveal, so we lied to you, you know? But and I get it, right? Like those are publicly traded companies. Obviously Bethesda is with Xbox now, which is a publicly traded company. But
Yep.
like I get that they need to announce stuff. I still hate that they fucking do that. But anyway, really good DLC. I think that DLC was better than the base game, the Dragon Age one.
Okay.
Story was better because it was better in all three categories.
Yeah.
It was better gameplay. Like they didn't really add extra things. They did kind of add a gameplay thing. I won't really spoil it because it kind of spoils the entire fucking game. But they added a gameplay thing that was really cool. And I think really neat and actually changed the way combat worked. They had just way more interesting fights and stuff like that because it wasn't just the same enemies. There was a brand new enemy type and like they acted different ways. There were new bosses that you fought and stuff like that. So it was definitely a lot more fun.
Okay.
There was less room to explore. It was way more railroaded, so that's probably why they could do that. It was exploring, sort of, but, you know.
I'm trying to think of like one game where I can make a comparison. I guess Grand Theft Auto 4. Have you played?
Yeah, yeah.
And they had
yeah, the Ballad of
Gay Tony
of
and
Gay Tony.
The
Yeah.
Lost and Damned.
That's true.
I would definitely say
Those are more memorable than the base game. So
they are.
yeah.
And in that case, the Ballad of Gay Tony DLC definitely added so much more to the base game.
Yep.
In like terms of mechanics and weapons and just, I guess, story. I mean, the story, don't get me wrong, I like the story of GTA 4.
Yeah.
I will go back and revisit it every couple years just because I'm like, oh man, that was good. You know?
Yeah, I always go back and play old games. There's some games I just can't. Like Mass Effect 1 was really one of those games.
But
like, it was just hard to play.
The DLC from that, I would definitely say, like, made the game age a lot better because
right.
It just added more to it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of games have that, and then like the DLC's better in certain regards, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got me thinking about games don't do DLC anymore.
No,
like they're
well.
well, actually, so before you say that,
yeah.
the reason I wrote this topic down was actually because I just played, or I'm still playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
And after watching other people play Mass Effect and talk about those DLCs and stuff like that, I was playing a DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, I just built into my game because I got the Game of the Year edition or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
is on
I was
Steam.
trying to look. They don't sell the base game. It's just straight edition.
Yeah, it's
like
just like the whole edition because the
edition.
game was like 2 years old when they released it on Steam. So I was playing the DLC. To me, that area was better than what I've played so far. And I'm not super far into the story of Horizon Zero Dawn, but that DLC really grabbed me. The writing was really good. Like, the people they introduced were good. Even the collectibles were more fun to, like, go and collect and find. The weapons and stuff that they added were really cool. They didn't really add any new gameplay mechanics, but it really grabbed me. And I was like, this is better than the base game, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if the story-wise it's better than the base game because I have not really gotten very far in the story. That was another one where the game sort of took place on top of it, and you actually, when you go through the base game story, there's a person you can go talk to about stuff in that DLC. So it still connects to the main game, which is cool. Yeah, but like, so that's what made me think about that. And that's a relatively new game, and that's a new DLC. Like, I was very, very surprised that a brand new game has story DLC that isn't just shitty. Because every game I think about, Tomb Raider, for instance, the DLC for Tomb Raider, they had time trials and stuff like that. I don't know if they had story DLCs, but they all seemed like not great. Assassin's Creed DLCs have been garbage. Like they really have not been super great.
I can't think
like
of
been
the
like
last time I
okay.
actually bought an Assassin's Creed. Do they actually have DLC? Oh, I guess
Syndicate
they
had
do.
DLC, Jack the Ripper DLC.
Oh yeah, I guess I
Syndicate.
bought that included with.
I don't think
Yeah.
I.
I
Played
mean, that
it.
wasn't
I watched
like
it being played there.
that was cool. It was just like a little homage.
Yeah,
thing,
it's just
but-
like like DLC was so. Like I wanted when I was playing Fallout 3, I wanted those DLCs. You know, I wanted anything. I wanted like nothing more than to play those
yeah.
DLCs. I wanted to go buy the discs for those DLCs because when you had Xbox, that's what you did. You had to go buy discs, and then you could buy some with Microsoft points, but they sold physical discs.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. Had the physical discs.
I mean,
for Fallout
I
3.
didn't get into. Well, I want to say like a little bit later in the Xbox 360's life, but it was like almost the end of 2009 when I first bought my Xbox.
Yeah, so towards the beginning, you still could also buy the discs for like map packs and stuff like that. Like Halo,
Yeah.
the map packs had discs that you could buy.
That
We
I
bought them with
remember.
Microsoft points, but you could buy the physical discs as
I also
well.
remember that the Mythic
That one came with ODST.
ODST. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I feel like games now don't have great DLC. And this brings me into the next topic a little bit of the multiplayer games DLC. Because I get why games used to have DLC. It was to make money on a game that's already out.
Right.
And I think that got lost because people tried to use DLC as quick cash grabs. And I think the first game to do that everyone always made fun of was, can you guess it?
Call of Duty.
No.
Oh.
No, it was a single player game.
Oh.
Had DLC. Map packs were kind of new. Like that was like newish.
Are you gonna say Oblivion?
I'm gonna say horse armor. Yeah. they had random small bits of DLC because back then when that came out, there were always some games that had smaller things at the time, but single player games pretty much just stuck with large story based expansions.
Yep.
That was it. That's just how games work, because MMOs work the same way. They just had large expansions, and
Do
that's
you
just,
think,
you know,
like, now, because, I guess it would make more sense, right? Like, I guess with, like, such a larger audience and gamers now, like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's just, like, a constantly growing number of players who have access to games now, and, like, more people are
sure
open to liking games, and it's just,
well,
like,
that's why the video
an
games
overall higher
industry
user base
is
than it was, like, 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the bigger industries. Like, video games almost died, like, before we were born.
Yeah.
Like, they just, like, they didn't sell at all.
Right.
Then they started to come back a little bit. Consoles made them more mainstream. More people started to buy them. PS2 is the biggest console ever made. Then every console after that subsequently just did almost as good.
Which, that's kind of why I was saying, like, because now it's more easily accessible. Do you think, like, them going towards a live service route, see, that's the thing.
here's
I'm
the
trying to, like,
thing.
I'm getting caught up on words here.
Even
but, like,
even taking live service out of it,
yeah.
I think companies realize because the industry is so big that they can get away with a quick cash grab. Because if you have, let's say, 2005, Star Wars Knights of the Republic comes out, you know? I can never say that fast, by the way. Knights of the Old Republic. If I go, Knights of the Old Republic came out. And it actually came out in 2003, by the way. I will say KOTOR from now on, yeah. KOTOR comes out in 2003, okay? I think there was a DLC, but let's say they decided to release, like, 3 DLCs for it, you know?
Yep.
So they released a first expansion. It adds 3-4 hours of gameplay, a bunch of new weapons, some cool characters, $20, you know?
Yep.
Pretty standard. You paid $60 for the game, paid $20 for one expansion. Next expansion comes, let's say 15, because some narrative DLC was $15 back then. So let's say $15. Next one comes out, $15, same thing. Adds like 10 hours of gameplay, doesn't really add any weapons, doesn't add any new like characters or whatever. But you know, like people buy it, okay?
Yep.
And then like a third one that is like way more extra like gear and content and like characters, but way less story. You know, same thing, $15. So you have all this DLC, $15 each, and your base that you're selling this DLC to is, let's say, you know, 1 million people bought KOTOR, you know?
Yep.
So you are selling this DLC to those 1 million people. Only a percentage of those people are going to buy it, you know? So you want to make something compelling enough so those people buy it. Because let's say 10% of those people buy it, you know? 10,000 people buy that DLC, you know?
Yep.
That's quite a bit of money, but if they made it what?
Sorry, you just said 10% of a million.
Oh, sorry, 100,000. My bad. Of 100,000, yeah. If 100,000 people buy it, that's a good percentage, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe they realize, oh, you know what? If we focus more on these other 2 DLCs, maybe we would have sold more copies, you know, like more quality. We could have made more money because our goal is to get like 20% of the players to buy this DLC. You know,
so it's like their means of like making money to put more resources into something else.
Right. Or they're just like, you know what, we can make more money from this. There's more story to tell with this game. People really like this game. So if we make content that they like, they will buy it, you know?
Yep.
Then comes along Oblivion. Oblivion has, 100 million players that are playing it. And they go, let's just release horse armor. And they do that.
Yep.
And DLC's $5. And people just go, like, okay. So let's say like 10% of those people buy that.
Yeah.
10% is really low. They're like, oh, we want 20%. However, 10% is still, of 100 million people, is still a ridiculous amount of people that just spent $5, you know? So they go, but they didn't like it. Yeah, whatever. Like, as long as we still get 10% of people to buy it, then it's fine. Right, because even if they have the same goal, right? Because they just are, everything that you make after that, as long as you take operation costs out of it, is just extra money. You're already cutting down a bunch of operating costs because part of the development team's gone. They want to move on to another game.
Yep.
Probably don't really need a bunch of new writers. Probably have a way smaller writing team, which is probably why the writing in DLCs is like a little bit better than the base game, because it's probably just all either like the main writers or like a small team of writers that really love the game, you know?
Yep.
And also the game's already out, so the fucking big money hungry producers aren't like staring down your neck while you're writing it, most likely. So so you might be a little bit easier with the DLC stuff. But, I think now that it's a bigger industry, all of these companies are not as afraid to put out bad DLC. Because if everyone's putting out bad DLC, and you just have the 10% of people that just don't care, and they'll buy the $5 horse armor, that's a lot of money, and they don't care. Yeah. What they don't realize is that if they just make a DLC that's way better, and, like, actually compelling, put the resources in, you'll get a much better output. But they don't care. They'd rather just have the quick cash grab, and that's it, you know? And I feel like we've seen that a lot with multiplayer games because all the pre-order bonuses on single-player games, because all the pre-order bonuses on single-player games are usually just a piece of shitty gear that you'll get rid of after the first 5 levels.
That happening to, like...
That was 2010.
Yeah, I would say, like, late, or, like, maybe 2013-ish.
New Vegas had that. That was 2010.
New Vegas did?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the caravan pack.
You had 7 different pre-order packs depending on where you pre-ordered from.
Oh.
You had the caravan one, you had the mercenary one, you had the vault one. You had like there were 1,000 different fucking pre-order bonuses, and you couldn't have all of them. Now you can. Now it's just built into the game.
Yeah.
But in the Game of the Year edition. But yeah, you can only have one of them. And that was it. I think on Steam you could buy the others at that point. So you paid $5. So you just paid $30 for stupid pre-order bonuses. Like, shit like that to me is stupid. Like, that DLC, that's stupid. Those are items that... Here's the best case scenario. Those are new items that you put in the game, right? They're unique.
Yep.
They have cool styles. They act differently than the guns that are in the game already.
Yep.
Great. That should just be in the game. Like, if you already have that stuff when the game launches, it should just be in the game.
Yeah.
Or it's DLC where it's just a reskin of things that are already in the game. And then it's shitty. Why are you making people pay for shit that's already in the game?
Right.
It's just like it's a lose-lose for the player, you know?
No,
they either have to spend more money for things that could have just been in the game.
That's kind of just like saying, I don't know, I'll buy fucking the Battle Pass in Call of Duty, and it's just like, let's slap this skin on the fucking
MP5. So let's talk. Well, right. So let's talk about that now. I'm actually okay with that because, especially if the game's free, right? So like Warzone, for instance, has the Battle Pass.
No.
And they're just slapping weird skins on these guns. No. Warzone did a better job with that, obviously.
Let's say this, because we definitely have a much easier access to money now that we both have jobs, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
But, so we have much easier access to money as compared to like 10...
So you're saying if I was younger, would it be different?
Yes.
No.
No.
I would still want those things, but chances are I would save it for my birthday and use the money to get Microsoft points to then, like, buy it or whatever.
Okay.
Like I got money once a year, twice a year because Christmas and my birthday.
Sure.
And that was it. And usually that money, people just give me gift cards to Xbox most of the time or Amazon so I could buy.
I think even back then on
Live.
such big occasions like that, like my birthday or Christmas, I wouldn't get enough to...
Right, and I get people's households are different. You know, like everyone's households are going to be different. You know, there are going to be some people that don't get anything, and that's a thing. But I think the Battle Pass, if the things are just cosmetic, think about if you were a kid. Think about how fucking incredibly happy you were that the new Call of Duty came out and you get to play with all your friends without having to pay a single penny.
No, and I agree with that.
Right.
I think that's great because it lets you add all these.
I think that's incredible. You're getting a AAA game for free.
Yeah.
And you're not losing out on any content
Correct.
except cosmetic content.
Right. Because, like, let's rewind that a few years back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when you bought the stimulus package.
Right.
Where you pay like $20
right, for a map pack.
For a map pack. And then if you had it installed, you locked pretty much everyone out.
Well, right. So we talked about that a little bit yesterday because on Leah's stream we were playing TBD. And the new Resident Evil map is only playable if you have the Resident Evil like DLC package.
Okay.
Normally, like the way it works now, you can play on all the other maps, like the Silent Hills map or the Stranger Things map. You just can't use those characters. Those characters are DLC.
That makes sense to me.
To me,
I think
it doesn't make sense to map lock people because you immediately cut your player base in half.
Right.
And I think all of these multiplayer games started to realize that your game just dies faster.
Well, that's kind of what I want to say. I applaud EA for doing.
Yeah, no, right.
When whoever had one person needed to own the premium.
I'd say it's DICE. I give all the credit to DICE.
Okay, fair. So it's Battlefield 1. One person needed to own all the DLC, and if you're in their party, you had access to the maps.
Yep.
Or I guess there's the maps. Really, you wouldn't get kicked out of the game.
That's still not, to me. That's still not great. Just don't. No one needs to own the maps. No maps. Don't have people pay for maps. I think at that point, you're still splitting up. If you don't have friends,
sure,
and you just play single queue, your friends don't play Battlefield. You just split your whole community. And I think actually there's a majority of players who play solo queue or even 2-person queue. You know. Yeah. And if that other person doesn't have it, you're still fucked, you know? So you just have to have one friend that happened to buy it, you know? Sure. And I get why developers did that at first. At first, they thought it was incentive for people to buy it. You buy this thing, it's an exclusive thing, you get to exclusively play with other people that have it, so you get to play it more, right?
Okay.
That'll make people buy it. And if your friends have it, you have to buy it too because you have to be able to play with them. That was the annoying part, was when you couldn't play with your friends.
Yeah.
Then they changed that, and they were like, okay, fine, if you play with your friends, you get dumped into the regular queue, further incentivizing your friends to buy the map pack, because you're like, oh, damn it, we can't play the new maps because you don't have it, you know? But the whole thing is you're now incentivizing players to be split. Like, the players are just split at that point. And even the way that, like, EA did that. EA now just does free maps. I think Battlefield 5 is free maps. I think Battlefront 2 is free maps.
I think after the whole Battlefield, I think it was Battlefield 1.
I think Battlefront 1 had maps that they said was going to be free, and then you had to pay for them. But then, I think eventually they made them free. But
leading into Battlefront 2 after their whole big oopsies on the
internet. Battlefront 2 I think still had free maps, but then they just had the stupid StarCraft stuff and like whatnot. But so to me, Dead by Daylight, by doing that, and I think it's a timed exclusive thing. But to me, because we were talking about that too, I think they were like, oh well, that's how all the other maps happen. Like the Stranger Things maps came out, and if you bought the Stranger Things package that had the characters and the killer and stuff like that, you got to play the map. You had access to the map. To me, that's like a lose-lose for the person buying it, though, because that is
everyone else is just gonna have access to it.
Right, you just paid money for something that's gonna go away. And I get they do, at least I think they say it's a timed exclusive when you're buying it.
Okay.
On top of it, you're also getting the characters and the killer and stuff like that, and like charms. Like you're getting stuff with it. Like there is stuff like included in it, like outfits and whatnot. So like I get it. Like you're not losing out on everything. You're not just paying for the time exclusive map.
I was trying to think of like a scenario where I could make a comparison, but off the top of my mind, I can't think of.
There's really not a huge comparison because most games like don't just turn. Well, there were some games that did that. We played a game. Do you remember it? It's a certain Bethesda game that we all got and played for a week, and then immediately we're like, this thing's broken.
Yeah.
Fallout 76.
Yep.
That game came out I paid $60 for it. You paid $60 for it. Our friends paid $60 for it. We played for a week. We played this broken piece of garbage that had some fun moments in it
hurts
for a
good
week.
Yeah,
actually, I mean, like I went back and it seems okay. Well, here's the thing. We'll get into that too, I guess. That game came out. It was shitty. We paid $6 for shit that was broken.
Yep.
And they promised to fix it. It took months and months for them to fix it. They actually announced DLC that was coming out before it was even fixed.
Yep.
We were upset. They were giving out refunds like crazy. I had a physical copy, so I couldn't get... Well, I had a physical copy that was also a digital copy, but they weren't giving out refunds at that point because we played too much. You had to only play an hour. We happened to play for a week because we were trying to give it a fucking chance.
I actually think I logged in a full 24 hours on that game.
Yeah, because to be fair, we did play for 6 hours at a time. We were having fun, and we would solo queue in to find stuff, and it was a cool concept. It was a cool concept. They made it too grindy and stuff like that, and there were too many exploits and things like that because it's just a shitty engine for a fucking MMO. But we did that. They made that game. That game's free to play now.
Yep.
I paid $60 for a free to play game.
How would you feel? I guess now that I think about it, Team Fortress 2.
I paid $30 for that too, and it's free to play now.
It's free to play.
Here's the thing. That's a little different.
They gave you cosmetic. Actually, no. If you own the game, you got free cosmetic drops.
Do you want to know what we got? We got 500 Atom points, and we got access to the DLC, which I think was $20. So we lost $60, and we got $5 of useless, shitty currency where you can't buy anything because everything's more expensive than 500.
Yep.
And we got access to a $20 DLC to a game that we don't want to fucking play.
I'm gonna pay $5 for this hardwood floor skin for my apartment.
I think that's probably $7.50. You know, so you can't even fucking do that. Team Fortress 2 is a little different because what I will say is that game wasn't broken when it came out. That game was playable. I played a fuck ton of that game after paying the $30, and then it went free.
I'll say this. But what kind of made it a little bit rewarding is because the Steam market, they had the whole back end of the currency trading and the inventory trading. And when the market came to be, I don't know what year the Steam market launched, but you had drops in the game that were sometimes worth $6, $7, $8, and you were only able to get those if you bought the actual release of the game.
That was pretty early on.
So, I think it was later on they started lessening the rarity of the drops on the free-to-play.
That I don't know. But, to your point, that game worked. I played a lot of that game. It worked. Yep. I had a good experience with it. I don't mind that I paid $30, because I also only paid $30. I probably actually got it on a Steam sale, so I probably only paid $10 for it, to be honest. But even if I did pay $30, because I don't remember, it was $30 for a game that I played a lot of and that worked and was fine. I don't mind doing that if it suddenly became free, especially because they probably did give something in return to people who played when it wasn't free to play. Because ultimately, so here's my philosophy, and we were talking about it with Dead by Daylight 2. If you're a multiplayer game and you're going to release all of these DLCs, you know, all of this cosmetic stuff, all of this DLC, like Dead by Daylight, for instance, is they release all of those different packs, you know? They have the Stranger Things pack, they have the Silent Hills pack, they have the Resident Evil pack, they have Friday the 13th stuff. They have a lot of, licensed IP stuff. All DLC, all adds really, really cool things to the game. However, all of those DLCs, I believe, are $20. The base game when it came out, I think, was $30. I think it's now $20 for the base game. So even if you buy the base game for $20, you still have to pay $20 for all the DLC.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't make any sense. I bought a product, and I need to go pay a ridiculous amount more money to have all the stuff in this product right now.
Sims.
That was my other thing. So that's the other thing that got us talking about it, too, was The Sims. A lot of our friends have started playing The Sims 4 again.
I want to say, even with all the sales that Sims has had.
It's $500, I think, for all the DLC.
Even with
all the sales.
the
with
sales.
all the things, because I think it's $900 for all the
ridiculous.
DLC. Yeah, it's something ridiculous.
It's just amazing that, I don't know, both Activision and EA always have these crazy, not markups, but...
Well, here's my philosophy, right?
Yeah.
The base game for The Sims right now is $5 because it's on sale. When it's not on sale, I think the base game's $30. If I'm going to pay $30 for a game that is necessarily incomplete now, same with Dead by Daylight, just give me the base game free.
Yeah.
What's the point? Because the game is
So-
playable. However, I'm way more likely to go buy your other thing. Like, if I played Dead by Daylight and that game was free,
Yep.
I probably would have bought 2 or 3 DLCs by now. Just probably because I'm just having fun with this free game.
Yeah.
Want to support the developers. The packs are cool. I haven't put any value into this game, so I'm not expecting anything out of it. Everything I get out of it is extra value that I feel like I could then spend on that
Let me
game.
ask you this, because Sims is just loaded with a shitload of micro DLC,
Yeah.
whereas to Dead by Daylight has a lot of DLC that adds onto the game. Now,
There's not a lot
games
in the base
like-
game, though.
Now, there's a game very specifically that I had in mind.
Yeah.
Which was early access. And this game got a lot of shit, still gets a lot of shit. And
Yeah.
that would be Ark Survival Evolved.
Well, it came out last year because it's just been unoptimized forever. and
Unoptimized,
finally
but it
became,
was
like, a
early
little optimized,
access, unoptimized. And
Yeah.
I think like a couple months in, DLC.
PUBG's the same thing for me, though. I fucking hated that.
Oh,
PUBG got-
yeah, huh?
PUBG got bought by Xbox, I think, or like
Microsoft.
they got, or Microsoft, and they got put into a timed exclusive with Microsoft.
Yep. Yep.
Or maybe they just got bought as an exclusive from Microsoft.
That was early access.
That was early access. The game came out on
I-
Xbox. It was still unoptimized. It was unoptimized on PC when they sold.
I
They
burned that
still
game
had
with my memory.
They still had DLC. They had the cosmetic DLC that came out. You bought the fucking packs of things, and people always wanted like a white T-shirt or like a
Yep.
white Switch was $50 or
Yep.
something. Like, that game had that too.
Well, that was loot boxes.
I despise loot boxes, honestly.
No, but that
like,
was.
no,
They had the
I get it,
marketplace,
but that's still that's still in the game.
Yeah.
You're making people pay for things that could just be in the game.
So
You're also putting things in the game
yeah,
that your game's not done yet.
Right.
It's
So
not
here's the
fucking
thing, right?
finished.
like don't get me wrong. I thought Ark had a very like creative survival aspect to it, but not just. I mean, it's a generic.
No, it's a cool game.
But
it's a really cool game.
I'll say the locations and the fauna and the just like the overall like animal life. I can't. God, why am I blanking on so many words?
No, I mean, that's right.
Anyway,
Wildlife,
but stuff like
it's
that.
Wildlife. but, yeah.
There you go.
But I mean, like animal life is fine.
So like they added all this, and it's like boom, $20 for this DLC.
No,
but-
yeah, it's stupid for a game that doesn't work.
The first exactly right?
Right.
So the game was very very demanding as is because it was just so unoptimized.
Right.
But it's like, hey, let's make this a 3 gigabyte DLC, okay? So that was like the first 2 that came out,
right.
and they started adding more expansions,
Right.
and each expansion was 20 gigabytes alone.
Yeah, it's
So I
just
think on
stupid.
top of the base game already being like 80 gigabytes, and this is like maybe I want to say late 2015, 2016, and it's like that was very high back then for games. Like people were shitting on like Red Dead Redemption for being like 120 gigabytes in like 2019 or.
Right.
But it's just like, I think having such an unoptimized game requiring so much like space on your hard disk
Right.
and charging outrageous prices for your DLC is just like
No, like that. Like again, that's where The Sims is wrong. That's where like even Dead by Daylight's wrong. Like even if the game works, like I'm not mad at Dead by Daylight. I played the game. We played for 7 hours last night. I've played tons of hours of that game, and I just bought the base game, and I have just a good time with it, no matter what. Like I don't need the other stuff. They don't make it feel like you need that stuff. There are things on those other characters, I'm pretty sure, that are better than things that are on the base characters. So
Okay.
you could technically like pay to win. Like those characters could
Okay.
have better things than the base characters. However, I still think the base characters have like a lot of really good stuff anyway. But I think that if they just released that game free, I would have been way more willing to spend more money because
Okay.
I already feel like I have a product I spent money on. Same with
So would you technically
Sims.
consider that a live service if it was a free?
no to me live service games are games that require, well, technically multiplayer games that are strictly multiplayer are live service games because they require the service to be live.
Okay.
Like to me that's a live service game.
Okay.
Like the Marvel game. Like that's a game that is like you get your dailies, you get like your different
Gotcha.
missions. The game is live. You have to play it online. Same with Destiny. You can play Destiny single player, but you can't play it offline.
Okay. So
Have to
kind of
be
like
online.
okay. So any game that requires always online functionality is a live service.
That's pretty much like, yeah. If you have to be online to play it, and there's
Okay.
no single
So
player,
Need for Speed
like-
Heat.
yeah. If you have to, yep. I mean
think-
those are live service. I mean that's what these companies are looking for. They're looking for you to be able to be connected online all the time and compare to other players and buy things constantly. Like that's what the live service
I
means
thought
to
like
companies.
the idea of it was cool when you're like just comparing statistics.
Sure, just add
Right?
Yeah, the game
Cool.
just adds statistics in your game. You know, it's
But
just like
and it's just like I don't know. But I guess I kind of see what you're saying.
right. Just Sims free. Make it free. The house building and shit like that. People get bored of that so quick that they'll buy the DLC anyway. Like people
Yeah.
already buy the DLC, but you probably have way more people buy the DLC.
I definitely
You
bought
know?
a few. Because me and my
Fuck
sister
that.
shared an account.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I feel way less likely to do that if I feel like I'm being like ripped off, you know?
right.
And I feel like a lot of games do that. I feel like that's what map packs technically are. It's just like and I love Halo. Halo's base maps in Halo 3 were fantastic.
Yeah.
All 4 map packs like were relatively like good. Like there were some way better ones than others, but I paid $60 for that game.
Yeah.
And I will say the reason I don't feel ripped off necessarily in that is that game had a single player, had a multiplayer, had custom games, had Forge, had things like that. And the map packs I think were only 800 Microsoft points, so they were only $10. So
were they or 1,200?
no, 1,200 was the
Because I know 16 was the $20 mark.
16 was $20. And I believe they're 800. One map pack might have been 1,200. That might have been like map pack 4, the mythic one or whatever. But
Which
a
really stupid fucking currency, by the way.
so dumb, smart actually, but they still got rid of it because
I guess.
it's
I
smart
mean-
for them, not for us.
I guess because they're still receiving all
Well,
the
you
money
just
regardless.
disconnect value from things when it's just points at that point. Plus, if you needed 2,400 Microsoft points, you had to buy 2 1,600 cards or
Right.
1,600 and 1,000 point card or an 800. You know,
Right.
like you had to.
So you always have that, even if you have that leftover bit afterwards.
Yeah, you have the leftover
I
bit,
feel
and
like
then
you'd be
that's not enough
either,
to do either.
Yeah,
so
either
eventually
you're
you're just
more
like,
inclined to spend it on something of lesser
Right.
value, which is almost impossible.
Plus, when you buy points, even if you're going to buy points and keep in an account, it's kind of just like bits. It's the reason bits are smart too. You're holding on to all this capital until it gets spent, you know?
Right.
So if I buy Microsoft points, but they're just sitting in my account, they're technically holding on to that money until it gets outputted to whoever's game I just bought, you know?
Right.
So they're holding on to all this extra capital. Whereas now, that's why most people just have wallets. Like, that's why Steam and like Xbox and everyone tries to get you to have like a wallet to keep money in, because they get to hold on to your capital. They earn interest. They can invest in like all this stuff and make more money. Anyway, that was the shitty financial part of it. But I just feel like if I feel like I'm getting ripped off, like I don't want to spend more money. I think that's why I bought the Fortnite Battle Pass, because one, it was all cosmetic stuff. It was cool cosmetic stuff. That game was free. We played that game for free. We played hundreds of hours of that game for free.
I don't
You
know
know,
about hundreds
Like,
of hours, but
no, we definitely did. I think you don't realize how much time we actually spent on that game. Because we would play for like 6 to 8 hours. Like for 6 months, we did that.
maybe.
Yeah, well, you don't realize it. We how many games do you think we'd play in a night?
I'll just say I burned out a lot of the battle royale genre.
No, we definitely burned out of it
memory.
like pretty quick.
No,
but
like
oh.
physically erased that from my mind.
If you remember, those games were what, 20 to 30 minutes, and we played a dozen matches a night. You know, like those
Yeah.
were long matches. We
Yeah.
probably played 100 to 200 hours, if not more, of that game. And we went through a bunch. We went through a couple seasons before we stopped playing of the Battle Pass.
True.
So, to me, I was like, I got all this time out of this game. I'll buy the Battle Pass. I don't care, like $20. Like, and that's the thing that a person who has a lot of money, not a lot of money, who has an income would say. Obviously, when I was younger, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to have the thing. And then eventually, if I got points, though, because I played that game all the time, I could show off to my friends, like, oh, look, I got the skin now. I got the Battle Pass, all this stuff. So, you know, I think there's still inherent value in that, too, because kids also want to be able to show off, like,
But
the cool, unique things you get with the Battle Pass.
I don't know if the Call of Duty Battle Pass worked in a similar manner, but like I could
the
pay
new one it is.
$10 in. No, I'll just say like because you earn currency in Fortnite, and by the end of the Battle Pass, you made it
I
all
think
the
the
way to
Call
the
of Duty
end,
one works that way.
You're able to buy the next Battle Pass.
I know that worked that way in Black Ops 4, but it was almost impossible to get to the end of it, even if you had to play like a ridiculous amount. I don't know if in Warzone it's the same way, but I think you do earn currency towards it.
I see.
And then you can use that to buy the next Battle Pass. The reason I think they do that is because the more you play, the more you want to buy the other stuff too anyway. So, like, I definitely get people spending lots of money on it. It's the same thing with League. League of Legends, free-to-play game.
Yep.
They offer you a bunch of fucking skins, and you can buy players and and characters and things like that.
Yep.
People spend thousands of dollars on that game. While I wouldn't spend thousands of dollars on that game, if I played that game a lot, yeah, I would just probably want to support the developers and stuff like that.
Right.
I think there's inherent value in having a good product that's free that also lets people support your thing, like a store that also has compelling content. It's not hard to make a compelling skin that looks really cool. People are going to want to buy it if it fucking looks cool. Or or wall tags, because people are getting back into doing wall tags like they did in was it Counter-Strike? It was big
Counter-Strike
wall tags. Source, yeah. Yeah, so to me that The Sims should do that. I would 100% think The Sims should do that. Same with Dead by Daylight. I would think Dead by Daylight should just give the game away. Because here's the thing. Most people who are getting into your game now probably are going to buy it for $5 on a Steam sale. Just like they were with The Sims. But because they're buying it for that $5, they're going to probably be way less likely to buy DLC or buy way less DLC than they normally would. Like, if I got The Sims for $5, I would buy, maybe 1 or 2 DLCs, and that's it. If I got the game free, however, and I continued to play it, every time a new DLC would come out, I'd be like, oh, it's been 6 months since I got the last DLC. I'll just pay another $20, because money over time is way easier than telling people, oh, you're getting this game now, you're going to pay $60 for this game right now. Also, here's $400 of DLC.
Yeah.
You're way less likely to do that, you know? Because same with Dead by Daylight. If Dead by Daylight was free, the Silent Hill one came out when I first was playing Dead by Daylight. So I probably would have bought that if the game was free. So I immediately would have paid the price of the game.
I started playing that game back when it was early access. And
right when it came out? True.
Yeah, back in 2015.
Yeah.
But that was the game...
Well, they just hit the 5-year anniversary, so it was 2016. They just had 5-year.
So I played it back then, but I think that was also during a free weekend, too. So I didn't own the game. I was like, oh, this is cool. But obviously everyone has different tastes in what they prefer to play.
Right. But yeah, so I would have bought the first DLC. It's $20, right? Yeah. So I would have immediately paid the cost of the game right at the beginning, most likely, because the new DLC.
Was that how much the base game goes for, 20 or 30?
It's $20 normally, yeah. And then this new DLC is out, and I probably would have bought this new DLC. I would have been $20 more ahead. I just am way less likely to do that now, because I paid for the game. I just feel like I should get value in the thing I already paid for, And I think that's where I think companies don't necessarily think about what gamers find valuable. I think they think that because a chunk of gamers will still buy things, that it makes it okay, That's why all these games come out unfinished, because they're like, well, a majority of people are still going to buy it, we're still going to have a huge influx of cash, and then we'll fix it later and most people will forget about it. And the players that didn't want it, they'll buy it later anyway. Okay. So it's just kind of like, or, hey game, maybe if you make a really, really good game to start with and you put it out and it works the first day, you get a lot more people to fucking buy it and play it.
Yeah.
That's why, I started playing Black Ops 4. I didn't get that on the first day. I saw people that played it on PC that first week it came out, and they said it was really good on PC, and it worked. So I was like, oh, I'll buy that. So I bought it for me and you, and we played it a lot on PC.
We did.
Because it worked. If it didn't work, we wouldn't have fucking bought it. So it's just I don't think they realize how many more people will buy something if it works,
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it kind of really lies in where the developer and the publisher is kind of fucking pushing them to...
Right, I think that's
releases.
But I think it even shows me and you would probably own Cyberpunk right now if it released and it was good, and it wasn't
definitely
100%. We would.
I think
we have a friend who wouldn't have returned it.
I would have. I was so close. I was maybe waiting another week's paycheck, and I was gonna be like, oh, I can afford it then.
100%. Me and you immediately bought Mass Effect Legendary. We bought that game. Technically, we bought all 3 games for Mass Effect.
Yeah.
And then we spent $60. Well, we spent $53 because we have EA Play. We spent $53 on a game we played already.
I got mine during sales.
What?
My Mass Effects.
No, but what I mean is you paid for a product and you were okay paying for a refurnished project because it was good and it worked. Yeah. And we bought Mass Effect Legendary Edition on the first day because we heard it was fine and we bought it and it worked. So it's just we were going to buy it anyway because we knew at some point. They already worked. How could you fuck up something that worked already, But that's the whole thing. It worked and we bought it.
It just works.
It just works. But that's it. Same with Fallout 76. I mean, we would probably still be playing Fallout 76 and gone back and played the other DLCs and stuff. But they promised us when we first got in, the biggest problem was storage. All of us immediately filled up our storage.
Yeah,
almost all of us had full storage.
And I think
and there were physical limitations to servers. Like we got that. Like there was, I shouldn't say physical. There were limitations in their servers.
Yeah.
And they said we're going to fix that. We're going to increase the storage limit by a whole lot. They increased it by £200, and then you got unlimited if you pay for their subscription service. Yep. Which, if that game came out and it was free to play, I would pay for the subscription service.
I'm just still kind of like waiting for that game to reach a point where someone can like make a multiplayer for it, like a off service. Like, hey, here's your own private server.
Your own. Right, which is offered. They said that was going to be a thing for free to everybody. Nope, not to everybody. You have to pay for their thing to get a free private server. That you can play with your friends and stuff like that. Those were all things they promised for free. Not even for free. Those were all things they promised to people that bought the game. Nope. Yep. Fuck that. What they probably were like, yeah, all the people that bought the game aren't playing anymore because they fucking hate it. So we'll get new players to come in and spend money on this game. And we already took the $60 from fucking everybody else. So fuck them. It was just like, so much, because that's all we wanted, because we had such a huge problem getting into a game with each other, because we were like 4 or 5 of us trying to play together, and we could get 3 of us in a game, we could get 4 of us in a game, then like one person would disconnect and we couldn't get back in. It was so hard to play a game with your friends in a multiplayer Fallout game that was meant to play Fallout with your friends. It was hard to fucking do that. And again, we played for like a week or 2, so it was like we gave them some chance to get the first initial bugs like gone, you know? Like, if you're a game and you're coming out, either buy more fucking... Like, after the first 48 hours a game is out, you know if you need more fucking servers or not. Like, you should fucking know that should be fixed already, you know? You should have some servers that you're ready to, like, go and rent on standby.
They definitely jumped the gun on that one. But...
Right, and I also get...
But didn't they do, like, a stress test and, like...
They did, yeah. People played it. See, we had friends that played in it before.
What companies should do is they should just make a poll.
Yeah, will you play this game? No, that would never work.
No, I know. I'm sure a lot of people also like fake votes too, but...
Right. Listen, to me, if you're going to promise something, just do it. And, like, I'm okay with playing Fallout 76 in the way that it was. Like, I get that. Should it have been more finished? Like, yeah, 100%. I'm okay with playing as long as I can play with my friends, which was the whole point of the fucking game, was to be able to play with your fucking friends. And
that's what everyone wanted.
And you like fix the bugs and glitches and stuff like that. And then you fucking actually come out with the things that you promised, and not for this free fucking live service pay to play fucking model, you know? Like, that is shitty. I go into that game now, by the way, my storage is full still. Like, I can't... Really? Yeah,
remember there was that thing
increased it by 200. That was it.
Remember there was that thing where the bobby pins weighed a lot, and that like took up like a lot of storage.
Yeah, and they were like, oh yeah, and people were weighing real bobby pins. And they were like, hey, fucker, like 50
here's
bobby
1,000.
Yeah, it's like for the 50 I'm carrying, I could carry 2,000 in real life.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here. This like weight shit. Yeah, like there were problems. Literally everything in that game was designed to make you to buy more things.
Yeah,
which I'm okay with. If the game's free to play. Literally all of their problems would have been solved if that game just started free to play. If that game was free to play, people would buy the subscription service to pay for the things. That would be fine, because I didn't pay for anything, so I don't feel like I'm owed any value.
No, I do kind of wonder, though, if it was free to play. I mean, obviously they lost a lot of their player base.
It's free to play now, though. Like, that's what I mean.
You're
like,
right.
If you're going to go there eventually, if you think it's going to get that bad.
That's because they lost a lot of their player base, right? But like, what if it was bad from the start in free to play? Do you think they would have kept the player base? No,
because you want to know why? If it was free to play from the start, they would have worked their fucking asses off to make sure it worked when it fucking launched, because they were going to be losing money because it's free.
Yeah.
So they would have had way more shit available, you know, like the fucking Atom store would have been more built out. The fucking paying to have private servers and stuff probably would have fucking worked on day one.
Yeah.
So I think if you just fucking had that, like, that shit would have worked. I guarantee all of us would have paid for, like, a couple months membership to that game if we did that.
Maybe.
100%. We 100% would have.
I was saying the same thing about Star Wars The Old Republic, and because that both had a free aspect and a paid aspect.
It didn't at first, though. It didn't have a free aspect at first. It came with
But when I started playing, there was a free, and then there's the premium. And I was like, oh, maybe.
The premium didn't add enough stuff, though. That was the problem.
Well, you definitely got like your speeder bikes or whatever, and then
yeah,
you also...
I mean, it had easier, like, and it made grinding easier and stuff like that
Yeah.
too. Like, it did make things easier, but it wasn't like needed or anything like that. It also wasn't like you didn't get enough from it, you know? Excuse me. But again, that was controversial too because it started, they lost their play risk, they went free to play. If you're gonna make a fucking game, just fucking make the game free to play to start with. Because then people don't, there's no the controversy. You went into that game knowing that game wasn't free to play at first. Now it was free to play, but they like limited it, and then they limited it too hard where like you couldn't do certain things, so they had to like go in and revamp what was free to play and not free to play. It was a fucking mess.
Well, that's what definitely lost me, is because
Right.
I didn't want to have to throw money down and have all my friends like fucking out-level me because they chose to pay money.
Right, but if we went into Fallout 76 and we were like, we want a private server, we want like more storage and things like that, and the thing is only $5, because the thing is, I think the Old Republic MMO, I think it was like $20 a month or something stupid.
Something like that.
Yeah, which is, again, that's what like WoW costs and stuff like that. So I get that. I get that like there are MMOs that cost that. WoW costs that because it has earned the right to charge that because they've done so much and people like that game so much that that's what they're willing to pay. All of these other companies trying to jump in and like steal that, like that's not how that works, you know? Like it just doesn't that's kind of like if I don't know, a pizza place around here charges like $25, like the best pizza you'll ever have, like in the tri-state area, you know, and it's $25. I'm not gonna go outside and make a stand for pizza and be like $25 because that place does it. It's like, no, that fucking guy worked his ass off to charge $25 for a pizza, and it fucking tastes better than mine. So why am I gonna charge the same
like
thing?
You're
like
selling
I'm
yourself
not.
short there, but
It's just like, but even like, let's say mine tasted just as good as his.
Yeah.
I still don't I haven't earned the right to do that yet. Like, I'm still new. Like, no one knows about my pizza. Like, I'm not going to charge $25 fucking dollars for it. You know, it's just like, the Fallout thing, I think is like $5 a month. And like, the only reason I'm opposed to going back and paying $5 for a couple months to play that game is because I already paid $60 and they already stole my fucking money pretty much, you know? Like, that's why we basically funded them to be able to make this fucking subscription service. That's what our $60 went to. It went to them being able to stay afloat on this fucking game to make this subscription service that we would have to pay for to enjoy the game. So
I guess I didn't think about it like that, but yeah.
Right. It's just like, it's literally, we don't get any of the benefits from the money that we paid. So I'm opposed to it. If it was free to play, I wouldn't be so
We got our
opposed to
500 atoms.
I just want to
Sounds
fucking
like
murder someone, dude.
getting-
Just like, oh my god, just like, and that's what they offered to the people that got the canvas bag. Do you remember that big debacle? Like, you got the canvas
We're not
bag,
gonna
and
like
it was just like
physically refund you. We'll give you your digital currency.
Yeah, they're
that
like,
you
hey,
can
look at this
spend."
canvas bag we gave to all these influencers, and they're like, this thing is great. It's cloth. It's really high quality. And then they sent you like a fucking like plastic,
like a tarp.
Yeah, right. And it was just like, this is not what and the zipper broke immediately, and just like, people paid $120 for that, and they got this shitty piece of plastic, you know?
Yep.
It's just like, it's the same thing with the Old Republic. Like, I love Star Wars. I love that universe. They kind of fucked up the universe a little bit with that game, but they've made up for it now because the game is free to play, and you can go through and play the main story for all the characters without having to pay for a membership. If you pay for a membership, it makes everything a lot easier. Like, I've read a lot of Reddit forums and stuff that says, I just finished KOTOR 1 and 2. I want to play more Old Republic. How does this stack up? Do I have to pay for it? And people all say, no, it will be helpful maybe if you save it and like spend like halfway through spend the money on at this point. It'll make it easier to like level up and do these things because you'll probably want to do that, or you could not do that and just spend a lot more time grinding out things and stuff like that. But, you know, I think they need to price things reasonably too, you know? Like, I don't play World of Warcraft because of the price, you know? Like, I played it a few times because I just had friends that had played it. Like, I don't play a lot of it.
Okay.
But I had my cousin play it, and he gave me, like, a 60-day membership or something like that. So I paid for it for, like, 1 or 2 months, and I was just like, I'm not playing this enough to get a lot of value out of it. But there are some people who play thousands of hours of that a year because it's the only game they play, and they have raid buddies, and they have their guild.
I gotta say,
and
I think that's like the one thing I liked about RuneScape was $5 a month.
Right. It's just like I think that
I definitely got my my
Right. What is it
monies.
now?
I think it's like 10.
Yeah, something like that. Which they've earned the right. They've had that for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff in there. So like, I get.
But it's not just that. You're also paying for 2 memberships for the price of 1. So
you
have
get it for
access
both
to,
games.
Yeah, you get it for old school and
That's
you get
fair.
it for the modern RuneScape.
But yeah, I also think these game companies need to like learn to price things at a better point, because I don't think they realize how much more money that they would make. And I'm sure they have fancy financial people that like work with the fancy analysts,
Yeah.
right? Who say that people will buy things and stuff like that. But obviously they've been wrong.
Yeah.
Like, because I hear that all the time, especially from older people.
Well,
no
it's like
offense to any older
you're
people
predicting
listening.
something that could definitely take a 180.
I think that we have lived in a period up until recently where most people in their head thought someone smarter than me had figured this out.
Yeah.
And I just don't comprehend that, you know?
Sure.
And we lived in a point where that was it. So when you went and bought something and you were like, this thing is so expensive, who's buying this thing? And then you just put it back, you were like, someone smarter than me figured out the price of that, and that's why it cost that. And that was it. But now we're in a point where, like, we've seen that fail, you know?
Yeah.
We've seen companies do that. Anthem. You remember that game?
Yep.
I don't. It was shitty. No one fucking
Do I
played
remember
it.
it? Yeah, I remember the title.
No, I know. I remember the title. I barely remember what it like looked like. But yeah, that game, you know, the biggest fucking game of 2018, supposed to be the largest fucking gigantic game that's gonna like take the world by storm.
Yeah.
I think it lasted like a week, and that was it. And no one fucking bought it or played it.
Yep.
This live service, great extravaganza experience turned out to be really shitty. That's what happens. And they learn, like, oh, if you have a game that's live service that's shitty, it's not going to do well.
Yeah.
And I think other companies are starting to learn that. EA learned that with Star Wars. Fucking, you know, live service games aren't the way to go. It's just like there are certain games that do well with that and certain games that don't.
It kind of makes me wonder because from what I heard was rumored is that the next Dragon Age was, before it got reworked, was supposed to be live
So it was
service.
supposed to not be. Then it was so there was going to be no more Dragon Age, right? That was the thing. Dragon Age gone. Just we're never making another Dragon
Inquisition last one.
Then
Okay.
live service. Then they were like, oh, it's going to be live service. It's going to be really, really great. All this stuff. Then all of their live service games, like Anthem, did really terrible.
Yep. So I
and even
kind
some
of
of their
wonder,
single player stuff did pretty bad too. Like
because that was
like
Bio.
Andromeda.
Did BioWare make Anthem? Or...
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Did they?
I don't fucking know. Everything uses Frostbite.
I don't think
so
so
I'm just
because
so anyway.
I think EA at the time was doing Andromeda because I think
Right.
Andromeda came out
I
either but right before
kinda
Anthem or at
wonder-
this. Oh no, you're right. They did. You want to know why I know that? They pulled off a bunch of people from Andromeda to work on Anthem. They actually, oh shit, I'm so much more mad now than I was before. I remember, because I actually like Andromeda. Andromeda has a lot of heart in it, and there's a lot of things in there that could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
And I was reading, they pulled like the head writer from the game. They pulled a bunch of the fucking creative minds behind Andromeda. They pulled them. They pulled a bunch of the developers. Half of the Andromeda team got pulled away to work on Anthem.
Interesting.
So, and they kept the release date for Andromeda the same. That's why there was so much shit, like bugs and stuff like that. I think that's when they learned that live service. Because they were like, this game's live service. It's way more important. We need more people on this game. Fuck you doing all your shit on Andromeda. So half the team for Anthem didn't know what they were really working on. Half the team on Andromeda was missing a whole bunch of people, so shit wasn't getting done.
I just wonder if, like, at that point where they realized, like, they made that collective fuck up, that it's like, we're just gonna, like...
Well, they released Anthem, that fucked up. And they're like, Andromeda will be fine.
So, like...
And they tried really hard to get Andromeda up to snuff right before the release
yeah.
date, and it came out and it still wasn't
Right.
good,
No,
you know?
I know. I just kind of wonder if that's, like, why they started giving, like, these developers their collective freedom back to make the games, right? So it's
Right.
like, because we fucked up so hard, it's like one more fuck up, and it's
right,
like,
and I
we're
think-
done.
And we talked about this the first podcast, but we've seen that work, you know?
Yeah.
Warzone, perfect example of that working. Fucking Infinity Ward took back and didn't listen to Activision, and it worked. Activision wanted there to be pay-to-win stuff in the battle passes.
Yep.
They wanted Warzone to not be free, and they wanted them to release way more content that you had to buy, you know?
Right.
And that's why Sledgehammer got pulled off of the next Call of Duty game and Black Ops or Cold War came out, because they wanted Treyarch back on. Because Treyarch was listening to Daddy Activision and fucking putting whatever they wanted in the game.
Right.
And Infinity Ward said, no, fuck you. We updated your engine. We brought Call of Duty back to the main front with Modern Warfare. We brought single-player campaign back to the front. We brought this free-to-play awesome game that I personally can't believe it's fucking free-to-play. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Back to the front. With the Battle Pass, and we brought your multiplayer experience back because we updated your whole fucking engine.
Yep.
So go fuck yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Activision was like, this is ridiculous. And then it does really fucking well, and it's like, oh yeah, we showed you. We saw it with Battlefront 2 as well.
I gotta say, because I guess Phil Spencer from Microsoft actually made a public statement where he was like, even if like Halo Infinite was to bomb, he goes, Halo is still a part of Microsoft, and that won't go away.
Right.
So it's like, just even like showing that little bit of interest in the company, it's like,
right.
I guess it being the steeple of Microsoft at this point.
Right.
It just shows how much care goes into their product of like,
right. And I think we've actually
we're not going to just cut it off there.
Right. I think we've actually seen that a little bit with Xbox. I think Xbox also learned that lesson that they were actually causing their games harm. I think they learned that with Halo 5. It was a very negatively reviewed game, you know, because of multiplayer. Like, multiplayer was like a not great step, and I think Microsoft had a huge hand in trying to get that stuff. And around that time, we saw Microsoft start to like take a step back and reevaluate a lot of things. And now they bought a lot of single player companies, Bethesda, Obsidian.
Now, do you think because Bethesda's out of the hands of ZeniMax that maybe it'll be just like a slightly better experience?
I think Microsoft will give them more freedom to focus on their games.
It's been like 2 years since they announced Starfield, so
right. Well, I think
on
Microsoft,
top of however long
I think Microsoft realizes that one, Game Pass was the thing. I think Microsoft is really leading the front of video games, in my opinion. Even though you can't get an Xbox and stuff right now, they started the pay per month for your console. So yeah, you can pay $30 a month for an Xbox
like
One S or $50 a month. Huh?
Kind of like a credit.
No, not even. So you pay $50. You're basically like almost renting the console, but you rent to own basically. So you're renting the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, $50 a month.
Okay.
For 2 years. It includes Xbox Live. It includes Game Pass.
Are you paying for more than?
I think
the value of the console.
It ends up. I think it ends up at the end of the 2 years. Ends up coming out to a little bit more than the console.
So just like you're going to like.
So it's like fantasy. However, if they come out with a new Xbox in that time, you just give it back, and you get the new Xbox.
Okay.
That was their solution to them wanting to come out with new consoles because hardware changes so fast. That's the biggest problem is consoles fall behind PC so fast that you saw them this last generation struggle with that. So you had the PS4, then you had the PS4 Slim, which was a tiny bit better, had the 4K. Xbox did the same thing with the One S. Then you had the Pros come out. You had the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. You had these pro-level consoles. These games had unlocked frame rates, and they had better performance and things like that.
Yep.
But it's like, I just bought an Xbox. You're making me buy another Xbox 2 years later, you know? Or 3 years later.
Yep. I think it was at that point where I realized, I was like, oh, man. I was like, I'm glad I'm a PC gamer because...
Well, it was way more viable back then. The Xbox 360, the games they were able to push out of the 360. I was playing Destiny on the 360
in Grand Theft Auto 5
or whatever. Yeah, it came out on the 360.
That game looked fucking stunning in 2011 or 12.
It still looked way better on the
for what
PS4
that console was able to do.
No, I
that
agree.
was still impressive.
It looked better on next gen, but also it still looked incredible.
Yeah,
you could tell the differences though. Like you saw
definitely
what they did, especially between PC. It couldn't keep up with PC anymore, but that console was 13, 14 years old.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And they were like, this next one's also going to last 10 years. And it's just not viable anymore. You know,
No.
like it's just you can't physically do that, especially with people having more access to PC stuff and all the PC stuff becoming more widely available, you know, low end stuff. Because the thing was, back when the 360 came out, building a PC that could play games was actually fucking expensive and hard because there wasn't a lot of lower end stuff that could play games. Developers started to work in being able to play on lower end consoles, and they started to realize there was a way better consumer end for PC parts, so started to just release things that were good quality for low prices, you know? Like graphics cards that were $200 instead of $700, and
Yep.
processors that were $100 instead of $300, and all those could play games on like medium settings, and that still looked better than fucking consoles and stuff like that. And so that was like the thing. And then people saw the value in a PC because you could upgrade as you go, So a year later, I could spend $300 and I get a way better fucking graphics card, and I can play stuff for longer. Or 2 years later, I can upgrade this thing or whatever, It's because it's modular, you get way more functionality out of it. But yeah, I think that's where Xbox did a good job. So my ending note to developers is listen to your players.
Do the bare minimum. No,
Listen
that
to
was,
do the bare
that was
minimum.
last week. Do the bare minimum.
Listen. It would be listen to your players. I think that there's value in single player experiences. There's value in single player DLCs. I don't think DLC should just be content that was in the game that you cut out. I think like have your game be complete, and if the game is popular, make DLC for it because those players are going to want that and they'll pay for it. If you just want to make a DLC and you have to build the game behind it, build the game behind it for free instead of charging for it, because
and slap on that EA hamburger
yikes
diagram.
Yeah, I like at the end of the day, just like listen to what players want. I think there's a way better way for it, and I think like players are almost always out there telling you what they want, and you don't have to listen to every single person, obviously, and obviously players are sometimes wrong in like the analysis of things.
I also think that's go hand in hand with what a lot of people say, and I also kind of hate the saying, vote with your wallet.
Well, that too, yeah, to the people out there, like, if you don't like the way something's done, just don't pay into it, Like, if you don't like the fact that Sims DLC is $50, don't buy it for $50, Like, because then they'll realize that even if you buy the DLC and it's on sale, that still shows them that you were willing to pay less for it. And then the next one they release, they might just release at a lower price, So, it is dumb. It's not a great saying, but it is true. It's like if you don't support something and that's the way to do it, then that's the way to do it, Like that's exactly why Anthem failed. People stopped playing it. Fallout 76 went free to play. People stopped playing it, So if you stop supporting it, the developers don't see a value in it and they change it, And we've seen that time and time again. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now we have single player fucking Star Wars games coming out the wazoo. We have a bunch of single player Star Wars games that are coming out. So, I think developers and publishers should listen to the players, and I also think the players should like stop saying fuck it. I think the players should just not play it. And I also get that's hard. Like if you just have a bunch of people playing it, like it's hard to just say fuck it. Like. But I bet we showed them for Cyberpunk. I bet they're never going to release a game as unfinished as Cyberpunk again. Because so many people refunded it and so many people didn't buy it, Yep. And I bet they didn't hit their projected sales and stuff like that. So they're probably going to learn, oh shit, like let's not release a game that's fucking broken and promise so much,
I also wonder if that has to do with them becoming a publicly traded company that kind of fucked them in the ass. But
probably,
I'm
but
sure
anyway,
that's another topic for another time.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this episode. We are available on
Spotify,
almost iTunes. I keep
Almost.
meaning to
Okay.
finish that. I have to upload one thing and then we'll be available on iTunes. On YouTube, I'm actually thinking about going through and restreaming these episodes on Twitch, and we'll be doing watch parties for them. So make sure you follow us on Twitch TV.
That actually sounds pretty fun.
/Nerds Alive. And we'll play the episode, and we'll actually just get to hang out, and you can ask us questions, and we'll be in the chat. But yeah, any closing thoughts?
Not today. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head before with your ending
not
segment.
Today.
What do we say to death? Not today.
Bananas. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Be sure to follow us if you're on one of the podcast platforms. And yeah, I'm Beta.
And I'm Jesse.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.